Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Orphanlast, aka Skylar Madison, and welcome to the 51 Animation Challenge video, where I've gone ahead and consolidated a number of the 51 animation challenges that happen to be Flower Sack animations all into one big animation. But for this particular video, I'm just focusing on the part that I focused on in cleaning up so that this animation can get closer to getting finished. Now, I've almost cleaned up this entire walk cycle. Now, if you notice, midway through the animation, his arms and legs go back to being a rough animation, and then, wind up looking all cleaned up again, and then they disappear again. Now, the reason for that is because, first of all, I decided to go and do 2 passes while doing the cleanup process. Now, the anatomy of the flower sack seemed like it took priority, so I went ahead and made sure that I did that. Then for the second pass, I decided to add the arms and legs, and I wasn't able to finish the arms and legs for this entire walk cycle. Now, for a complete walk cycle, it's 2 steps, and if you notice, he does 4 steps here. That means I put him on a loop. That's why his arms disappear midway through the animation and reappear again. It's because I decided to put him on a loop. Now, as you can see at the beginning of the video here, I'm having to reanimate the ball that collides with flower sack number 1. All over again, and it's because of the same problem at the beginning of every single one of these videos here, where I'm just basically repeating myself over and over again. OpenToonz just isn't saving the drawings. I've tried a multitude of different ways of trying to get OpenToonz to actually save it. It's just not working. I don't get it. And for the beginning of the video, I also spent a lot of time focusing on how to make the wind up for the jump for flower sack number 2 to make it look a little bit more convincing, and to also make it look a little bit better while flower sack number 2 is up in the air. It just seemed a little bit too jittery. Now, I think I might have done something to kind of screw it up a little bit. It just kind of feels like everything's just a little bit evenly spaced, and so there's no real emphasis on gravity. It is what it feels like at this point. So somehow I need to work out what the spacing should be for this particular animation so that I can somehow make flower sack number 2 look airborne in a way that looks convincing and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and address another kind of side topic. Recently on my Twitter, I've gone ahead and posted a bit of a news story about Krita, and specifically it's about a bug release. It's the latest version of Krita, which is 4.0.4. So it's recently just been added to the official Krita download page. If you guys would like to get a hold of that, of course, it's free. And even though I've decided to use a number of other programs, it doesn't necessarily mean that I've abandoned Krita. Krita is used professionally by a lot of different people. A lot of concept artists do use Krita, without a doubt. It's just that the hardware on my computer isn't really the most amazing thing in the world. It's about time that I go ahead and purchase a new computer. But for the time being, I'm using Intel Core i3 processor, which is 2.1 gigahertz. Not really the most impressive thing in the world. And then I have 6 gigabytes of RAM. Again, not really that amazing. And Windows 10 64-bit operating system. So, it's just kind of a mediocre computer. And so, if my computer was just a little bit better, I'd be able to run Krita a heck of a lot better. But it just hasn't been. But I'll try out this latest version and let you guys know what I think of 4.0.4 as soon as I have a project that warrants me using it. Now, I would actually have a brand new computer at my house right now if it wasn't for the fact that I actually got injured again at work. I injured my shoulder, and now the most frustrating thing about this situation is I go to the medical facility and they don't even really offer a very good diagnosis of the situation. They don't x-ray, they don't do an MRI or anything. They just throw out a guess, and the first time that I actually hear a real diagnosis is from some physical therapists, who are telling me that even though my shoulder is healing, without a doubt, it is healing, it's not healing very fast. And so something might be up with it. And I'm coming up on my 3rd week of not being able to go to work with workforce services refusing to pay me for not being able to go to work. You know, that's the irritating thing. You have some dumbass that sits there inside of an air-conditioned office all day, and they think that they can tell a construction worker what they can and can't do when they show up for work. Oh yeah, you know, just go on light duty. You know, even if I'm on light duty doing construction work, I'm going to wind up with one arm that totally doesn't even work. Can't lift, can't put any of my body weight on it in any way at any point on my arm. And then I wind up being something like 30 feet up in the air, wondering how I'm going to get down. And this lady keeps telling me,
oh no, you have a list of different things that you can and can't do, so, you know, you won't be in that situation.
Oh no, I actually will be in that situation if I go to work. And so what they're kind of thinking about this is that I'm just refusing to go to work. That's not the situation at all. I just simply can't work because if I go to work, light duty or not, I'm going to get hurt even more. So I don't know what to do about this situation that I'm in right now, but whatever. Luckily, I've been able to save a little bit of money in order to have a little bit of a rainy day account, and this little rainy day has wound up being something close to 3 weeks. And unfortunately, that rainy day account was hopefully the money that I was hoping to put towards a new computer, but we'll see how that works out over time. Who knows, I might be able to afford another computer within a short period of time, maybe. Who knows. I'll be going to work next week, even though most of the mobility of my arm isn't even really there. For about a week and a half, I couldn't move my arm above 15 degrees. But now I can move it up to 90 degrees, but it's pretty painful. And it's not like I can lift anything while I do that at all, from any direction. It doesn't matter how I wind up trying to do it. But anyways, yeah, you know, most of the cleanup work in my specific workflow, it's, you know, I use the polyline tool to detail the line work as quickly and easily as possible with the fewest number of control points. The more control points you have on your animation, the more lag you can expect to have as your animation gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, you know, so the polyline winds up being extremely useful. Instead of this particular animation, I do wind up using the brush tool, but that's only for the little arms and legs of the flower sack, and I don't really think that's going to really add too many control points if I'm just working on something so tiny. So something that's really useful also is the control point editor. I've already mentioned this tool millions of times on my channel, but the thing with the control point editor is you can select the line that you're going to be working on, and then you can select all of the control points and then just kind of figure which side of this line matches the most of what you had drawn out on the previous frame, because I like to copy and paste the cleaned up line work from one frame to the next to the next to the next, and then just use the control point editor to kind of sculpt the lines to match. It just seems like I could mess around with the polyline tool all day long and mess around with the brush tool all day long and wind up frustrating myself, or I can just keep copying and pasting the line work. To me, copying and pasting the line work seems more logical, and sculpting it seems more logical, because if you have line variance due to the pump tool, then you're able to keep a lot of that variance, the thickness of your lines, pretty uniform throughout the course of your animation, and that's pretty important. Now, with that prerequisite information out of the way, to finish my thought about the control point editor, what you're able to do is you're just able to select the line that you want to work with, and then select all of the control points, find out which side of the line that you're working on matches the most of the rough frame that you happen to be working on, and then just kind of move all of that to match as best as possible, and then select 90% of the control points and move that to match as best as possible, then 80%, then 70, then 60, then 50, then 40, then, you know, so on and so forth. That is assuming that you have 10 control points per line. Of course, that's a bit of an over-exaggeration. You're not going to necessarily have that, and I would actually recommend that if you have more than 10 on a line, then you should probably reduce the number of them, primarily because of what I said earlier. The more control points that you have per line, the more of a chance that you have of creating lag. Now, you can actually kind of fake the number of control points that you have if you need a lot of them, and some of that you can do with just the handles. You can kind of manipulate the shapes of each line pretty well with the handles themselves. So you don't necessarily always need to have a control point for each bob and weave of a line. So that's just some food for thought. Of course, all of this comes with practice. If you've used the pen tool instead of Photoshop, then eventually you'll be able to do all of this fairly easily. So anyways, right here you kind of saw me just kind of grab all of my frames, drag them into the timeline, and just adjust the timing. Now, if you notice, midway through what I'm animating, the yellow vector column on the timeline, midway through the animation with that, there are 2 keyframes. And so I was able to just use the animate tool to kind of adjust the loop of the walking cycle so that the walking cycle could just continue moving onward towards the left side of the screen a little bit more and more, and all that good stuff. So this is looking pretty good in my opinion. And after I went ahead and adjusted all of the timing to match, I decided, okay, well, at this point, I can start focusing on the hands and feet. And so it's not that difficult, but, it does give me a chance to kind of look over some of the decisions that I made originally with the anatomy of the flour sack and kind of make some last-minute adjustments as I go ahead and apply the hands and feet. I don't know, something about it. There were at least 3 or 4 different circumstances where I actually modified what I did originally so that it would be better and more accurate to what I had on my rough animation. And so that was pretty helpful. So just really quick here, as we're coming to a close, I did record some footage for the subscriber drawing request video, but I need more footage in order to actually make an actual proper video for you guys. Anyways, that pretty much concludes it for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys didn't like it, please like, share, and subscribe anyways. There's a lot of work that goes into making these videos, and if you guys would like to, take a look at any of my other videos that I've created throughout the time that I've been YouTubing, feel free to click on any of them that are appearing on the screen right now. Thank you very much for your time.